The morning started like any other day at Earth Defense Command. Admiral Kim Ji-won sat at her desk, drinking coffee and reading reports about asteroid mining operations. The view from her office window showed the peaceful blue planet below, with cargo ships moving between Earth and the Moon like busy ants. Then everything changed. Admiral Park Min-ho burst through her office door, his face pale with excitement. "You need to see this right now." Ji-won followed him to the main control room, where dozens of officers stared at their screens in shock. On the big display, 300 massive ships hung in space near Mars. Each vessel was several kilometers long, dark gray and covered with weapon ports that glowed with angry red light. "When did they arrive?" Ji-won asked, surprisingly calm. "About 10 minutes ago," Min-ho replied. "They just appeared out of nowhere. Some kind of faster-than-light travel, but it's weird." Lee Sora, the communications officer, looked up from her station. "Admiral, they're sending a message on all frequencies. It's in perfect English somehow." "Let's hear it," Ji-won said. A deep, threatening voice filled the control room. "Primitive beings of the third planet, you are now subjects of the Draknari Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds across the galaxy. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your technology is nothing compared to ours. Surrender immediately, or we will destroy your cities and enslave your people. You have one of your time units called hours to respond." The control room fell silent. Everyone looked at Admiral Ji-won, waiting for orders to prepare Earth's defenses or send a desperate plea for mercy. Instead, Park Min-ho started laughing. "Min-ho," Sora whispered. "This isn't funny. They have 300 warships." But Min-ho couldn't stop laughing. He pointed at his analysis screen, tears streaming down his face. "Look at their ships. Look at their engines." Ji-won walked over to Min-ho's station and studied the readings. Her eyebrows went up in surprise. "Are those fusion drives?" "Yes," Min-ho gasped between laughs. "They're using fusion power." "We stopped using that 300 years ago because it's so slow and inefficient." Now other officers gathered around the screen. Chief Science Officer Nam Seok-jin shook his head in amazement. These ships must have taken decades to travel between star systems, maybe centuries. And their weapons, added Tactical Officer Choi Dae-ho. "Those are plasma cannons. My grandfather used similar weapons when he was a pilot. We have those in our military museum now." The laughter spread through the control room like a virus. Soon half the officers were chuckling and the other half looked confused. "Admiral," Sora said, trying to be serious, "how should I respond to their ultimatum?" Ji-won thought for a moment, then smiled. "Tell them thank you for the entertainment, and that we're trying to decide whether to call the Space Museum or the Comedy Club." "I can't say that." Sora protested. "Why not?" Ji-won asked. "Look at their technology. Their most advanced warship has less firepower than our civilian cargo haulers. Their mighty fleet moves slower than our garbage collection ships. On the main screen, the alien ships maintained their threatening formation. Red lights pulsed along their hulls, trying to look intimidating. To human eyes, they looked like floating museums. But Admiral, worried Officer Lim Tae-won, they said they conquered 1,000 worlds. That must mean something. Nam Seok-jin pulled up a galactic map on his screen. "Actually, that explains a lot. Look at this." He pointed to the known alien civilizations. "Every species we've discovered so far is still using primitive technology. Chemical rockets, basic nuclear power, simple energy weapons. If all the aliens out there are at that level, then yes, these Draknari could conquer them easily." "So we're the weird ones?" asked Dae-ho. "Apparently," Ji-won replied. "We developed technology much faster than everyone else. While they were fighting wars with laser guns, we learned to manipulate quantum fields and bend space-time." The communication station beeped. The alien voice returned, sounding annoyed. "Humans of Earth, you have not responded to our ultimatum. We will demonstrate our power by destroying one of your space stations. Prepare to witness the might of the Draknari Empire." This time the entire control room burst into laughter. "They want to demonstrate their power?" Sora giggled. "Should I tell them about the time we accidentally created a black hole during a physics experiment? Or when we had to move 3 moons because they were interfering with our shipping routes?" Added Min-ho. Ji-won raised her hand for quiet. "Sora, open a channel to their flagship." "Channel open, Admiral." Ji-won cleared her throat and spoke in her most diplomatic voice. "Draknari Empire, this is Admiral Kim Ji-won of Earth Defense Command. We appreciate your visit to our solar system. However, We must inform you that your current technology level is approximately 400 years behind ours. Your weapons cannot damage our civilian structures, let alone our military installations. We suggest you upgrade your ships before attempting to conquer any more worlds. Earth out. She nodded to Sora, who closed the channel. Think they'll believe us? Asked Deho. Probably not, Jiwan replied. Species that spend all their time conquering other species usually can't imagine anyone being more advanced than them. They'll think we're lying or bluffing. As if to prove her point, the alien ships began moving toward Earth. Their formation stayed tight and threatening, weapons charging for an attack. Admiral, Minho reported. They're targeting the mining station near Jupiter. Looks like they want to make an example of it. Should we evacuate the station? Asked Sora. No need, Jiwan said calmly. The station's automatic defenses will handle this. In fact, this might be educational for our alien visitors. She turned to address the control room. Everyone, watch and learn. This is what happens when someone brings 400-year-old weapons to a modern fight. The Draknari ships approached the mining station like ancient warships preparing for battle. Their plasma cannons glowed brighter, building up energy for a devastating attack. The mining station, a simple industrial facility, continued its work as if nothing was happening. 300 alien warships against one human mining station. By all logic of galactic warfare, it should have been a massacre. Instead, it became the most one-sided demonstration of technological superiority in galactic history. And the humans hadn't even started trying yet. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the communication screen in confusion. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever laughed at the Draknari Empire. They usually begged for mercy, offered tribute, or attacked in desperate fury. But laughter? That was new. Communications officer, he growled. Replay the human transmission. The voice of Admiral Kim Ji-won filled the bridge again. Your current technology level is approximately 400 years behind ours. Your weapons cannot damage our civilian structures. Several Draknari officers made angry clicking sounds with their mandibles. Sub-Commander Krixtall spoke up. Admiral, they must be lying. No species develops faster than the Draknari. We have conquered the galaxy for 1,000 years. Exactly, Vextar agreed. They're trying to trick us, probably hoping we'll leave without a fight. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their mining station. Show them what Draknari plasma cannons can do. Meanwhile, back on Earth, President Yoon Hee-jin sat in the emergency council meeting, trying not to smile. As a former engineer, she understood exactly how outmatched the aliens were. But as a politician, she knew this situation needed careful handling. Madam President, said Defense Minister Kang Min-ji, the aliens are demanding to speak with our supreme overlord. They don't seem to understand our government system. Of course they don't, replied Chief Science Officer Nam Seok-jin. Every alien species we've studied has the same basic structure. One leader, strict hierarchy, central control. They can't imagine a civilization that works any other way. Hye-jin nodded. Schedule a meeting with their admiral. Let's try to explain things peacefully before this gets out of hand. An hour later, President Hye-jin appeared on the main screen of the Draknari flagship. Admiral Vextar expected to see a powerful warrior or an ancient, wise ruler. Instead, he saw a middle-aged woman in a simple blue suit sitting behind a wooden desk. Greetings, Admiral Vextar, Hye-jin said politely. I'm President Yoon Hye-jin, currently serving as Earth's elected leader. Elected? Vextar's translator struggled with the word. You mean chosen by the strongest warrior? No, chosen by the people through voting. Every few years, humans pick new leaders through a peaceful process called democracy. Vextar's head hurt trying to understand this. But who is your supreme overlord? Your ultimate commander? We don't have one, Hye-jin explained patiently. Earth has 195 countries, each with its own government. Some are democracies like mine. Others are kingdoms and a few are corporate states. They all work together through negotiation and compromise. The Draknari computer system started making error sounds. Officer Krixtall stared at his analysis screen in confusion. Admiral, their governmental structure makes no sense. How do they make decisions? Who gives orders during war? That's a good question, Hye-jin said, apparently hearing him through the translator. Usually we talk things through until we find a solution everyone can accept. For military matters, we have the Earth Defense Council, but even they can't order individual countries around. Vextar felt his certainty cracking. But that's impossible. Without central control, your civilization should have collapsed into chaos centuries ago. Actually, it makes us stronger, said Nam Seokjin, joining the conversation. When you have many different groups working on the same problems, you get many different solutions. The best ideas rise to the top naturally. Prove it, Vextar demanded. Show us your technology. If you're so advanced, demonstrate it. Nam Seokjin smiled. Certainly. What would you like to see first? Our antimatter drives, our quantum communication networks, our reality manipulation fields. Antimatter? Crystal whispered. That's theoretical. No one has ever successfully contained antimatter. We've been using it for interstellar travel for over 200 years. Nam Seokjin replied casually. Much cleaner than fusion and about 1,000 times more efficient. Impossible, Vextar shouted. If you had such technology, you would have conquered the galaxy by now. Why would we want to do that? Asked Heejin, looking genuinely puzzled. Conquering people is expensive, difficult, and morally wrong. It's much easier to trade with them and learn from their cultures. Military historian Lim Tae-wan appeared on screen next to the president. Actually, Admiral, we went through our conquest phase about 400 years ago. Most human civilizations did. We fought wars, built empires, enslaved other people. It was horrible and inefficient. Then how did you become the dominant species? Vextar asked. We didn't, Lim Tae-wan explained. We learned that cooperation produces better results than domination. Instead of forcing everyone to be the same, we celebrated differences. Instead of hoarding knowledge, we shared it freely. Our weakness became our strength. Vextar's worldview started crumbling. Everything the Draknari believed about civilization was based on the idea that only the strongest survive and expand. But these humans were suggesting that strength came from cooperation, not conquest. You're lying, he said desperately. No species could advance so far without conquering others. It goes against all natural law, does it? Asked Nam Seokjin. Think about it logically. When you conquer a planet, you get access to their resources and maybe some of their knowledge. But when you cooperate with them, you get access to their resources, all of their knowledge, and their help in developing new technologies. Which approach produces better results? Communications Officer Lee Sora joined the conversation from Earth Defense Command. Admiral Vextar, we've been monitoring your ships for the past few hours. Your technology is impressive for its age, but we stopped using fusion drives when we discovered quantum tunneling. Your plasma weapons are well designed, but they're like trying to fight modern aircraft with ancient arrows. This is ridiculous. Vextar exploded. You cannot be more advanced than the Draknari Empire. We rule the galaxy. You rule a tiny part of one spiral arm, Lim Tae-wan corrected gently. Humans have explored 12 different spiral arms in 3 nearby galaxies. We found hundreds of species like yours, all stuck at roughly the same technological level, all fighting the same old wars with the same old weapons. But we conquered 1,000 worlds, Crystal protested. Yes, Heejin said sadly. And every one of those conquests probably set back your technological development by decades. Instead of learning from those species, you enslaved them. Instead of combining your knowledge with theirs, you imposed your will on them. You've been conquering civilizations that could have been helping you advance. The bridge of the Draknari flagship fell silent. For the first time in their history, the mighty conquerors of 1,000 worlds felt small and primitive. Vextar stared at the human leaders on his screen. They weren't warriors or overlords. They were teachers, scientists, and diplomats. They had built a civilization more advanced than anything the Draknari could imagine, not through conquest, but through cooperation, and they were offering to share that knowledge freely. It was the most terrifying and wonderful thing Vextar had ever encountered. Admiral Vextar refused to believe what the humans were telling him. No species could be that advanced without conquering others. It went against everything the Draknari had learned in 1,000 years of galactic domination. The humans had to be lying, trying to trick him into retreat. Enough of these lies, he declared to his bridge crew. We will demonstrate Draknari power. Target the mining station near the large planet with rings. Destroy it completely. Yes, Admiral, replied Weapons Officer Thakmore, charging plasma cannons to maximum power. This will show them what happens when someone defies the Draknari Empire. The 300 Draknari warships moved into attack formation, their red weapon ports glowing brighter as energy built up for a devastating strike. Each ship carried enough firepower to level mountains and boil oceans. Combined, they could crack planets apart. Near Jupiter, the human mining station continued its boring work, completely ignoring the approaching alien fleet. The station looked like a collection of metal boxes and spinning wheels, with cargo ships coming and going like worker bees. It had no visible weapons, no armor plating, no defensive systems that Draknari sensors could detect. Captain An Ji-young sat on the bridge of the patrol ship Resilience. Watching the alien fleet approach her sector, she sipped her coffee calmly while her crew prepared for what promised to be an interesting day. "Captain," reported Engineer Song Woo-bin, "the aliens are charging their weapons. Looks like they're targeting mining station Omega-7. Should we evacuate the station?" asked Communications Officer Park Ye-ji. "No need," Ji-young replied. "Woo-bin, are our defensive systems online?" "Always, Captain. Standard patrol configuration." "Good. Let's give our visitors a demonstration of modern technology." On mining station Omega-7, Commander Han Kyung-soo received the alert about incoming alien weapons fire. He made an announcement over the station intercom. "Attention all personnel, we're about to receive some antique plasma fire from our alien visitors. Normal safety protocols are in effect. Continue your regular duties." The miners and engineers barely looked up from their work. After all, the station's automatic defenses could handle ancient plasma weapons without any human intervention. Admiral Vextar watched his flagship's main screen as the target came into range. "Fire all weapons," he commanded. 300 Draknari warships unleashed their full power at once. Brilliant red plasma bolts, each one capable of destroying entire city blocks, streaked across space toward the helpless human mining station. The combined attack was powerful enough to vaporize small moons. The plasma bolts hit the mining station and simply disappeared. "What?" Vextar stared at his screen in confusion. "Tactical officer, report." "Admiral, our weapons hit the target directly but caused no damage. The energy readings show complete absorption." On the Resilience, Engineer Song Woo-bin watched his defensive systems work automatically. The ship's standard energy barriers absorbed the alien attack effortlessly, converting the primitive plasma into useful power for the ship's systems. "Well, that was refreshing," he reported to Captain Ji-young. "The aliens just recharged our batteries. Very considerate of them." "Their weapons are actually helping us?" asked Park Ye-ji in amazement. "Of course," Woo-bin replied. "Our barriers are designed to absorb energy attacks and convert them to power. Those plasma bolts were about as dangerous as sunlight." Captain Ji-young opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. "Draknari vessels, this is Captain An Ji-young of the Earth Patrol ship Resilience. Thank you for the free energy boost. Our mining station's power levels are now at 110% efficiency thanks to your weapons fire." Admiral Vextar felt his world collapse around him. The most powerful attack in Draknari history had been effortlessly absorbed by human defensive systems. Worse, they were being polite about it. "Impossible," he roared. "No defense can stop Draknari plasma cannons." "Admiral," whispered Sub-Commander Krickstall, "our sensors show that their barriers didn't even strain under our attack. It was like shooting at a star with a child's toy." That's when things got worse for the Draknari. A small human fighter craft launched from the mining station, heading directly toward their fleet. Pilot Bae Yuna flew her experimental ship toward 300 enemy warships, apparently planning to take them all on by herself. "One fighter against our entire fleet?" Vextar laughed bitterly. "At least this human has warrior spirit, even if she's suicidal." But Bae Yuna wasn't planning to fight. She was planning to give the aliens a flying lesson. Her ship, barely larger than a Draknari shuttle, moved faster than the alien sensors could track. She danced between their massive warships like a butterfly in a thunderstorm, completely untouchable. Every time the Draknari tried to target her, she was already somewhere else. "This is Pilot Bae Yuna to the Draknari fleet," she broadcast cheerfully. "Welcome to our solar system. I'm here to escort you away from civilian areas. Please follow me to a safe distance where we can chat without endangering our workers." "Shoot her down," Vextar commanded. The Draknari tried. Hundreds of plasma cannons fired at the tiny human ship, creating a deadly web of energy beams that should have vaporized anything in the area. Bae Yuna's fighter weaved through the attack pattern like it was a gentle rain shower. "My ship's AI is analyzing your weapon trajectories," she explained helpfully. "Your targeting systems are quite good for their age, but they're designed to fight ships that move in predictable patterns. Human fighters use quantum uncertainty drives. We don't technically exist in one specific location until we choose to. The Draknari weapons officers stared at their screens in horror. The human fighter was moving in ways that violated physics as they understood it. "Admiral," Thakmore reported in a shaking voice, "I can't get a targeting lock. The ship appears to be in multiple locations simultaneously." Captain Ji-young's patrol ship moved closer to the alien fleet, still broadcasting friendly messages. "Draknari vessels, please don't be alarmed by your inability to hit our fighter. Pilot Bay is still learning to use her new ship. Next week she'll be testing our latest model, which can exist in different dimensions at the same time." "Different dimensions?" Crystal whispered. "Also," added Engineer Song Wubin over the radio, "I should mention that you're currently surrounded by our defensive network. The mining station, our patrol ship, and Pilot Bay's fighter are just the visible parts. We have automated defense platforms scattered throughout this area, all equipped with quantum weapon systems." Admiral Vextar looked at his tactical display and felt his heart stop beating. His sensors were picking up energy signatures everywhere. Dozens of hidden human weapons platforms surrounded his fleet, each one more advanced than his flagship. "When did they deploy those?" he asked weakly. "They've been there all along," replied his sensor officer. "Our equipment couldn't detect them until now." The terrible truth hit Admiral Vextar like a physical blow. The humans weren't just more advanced than the Draknari. They were so far ahead that this entire confrontation was like children playing with toys in front of adults. The mighty Draknari warfleet was completely helpless, and the humans were still being polite about it. "Draknari fleet," came Captain Ji-young's voice. "You're welcome to stay in our solar system as long as you'd like. We're always happy to meet new species. However, if you're planning to continue with the whole conquest thing, you might want to upgrade your technology first. We'd be happy to help with that." For the first time in Draknari history, a conquest fleet retreated not because they were defeated, but because they were embarrassed. The Draknari fleet retreated to the edge of the solar system, but they didn't leave. Admiral Vextar spent 3 days staring at reports that made no sense. His weapons had been completely useless. His ships couldn't even detect most human technology. A single human fighter pilot had made his entire fleet look like children playing with broken toys. Everything the Draknari believed about galactic civilization was wrong. On Earth, Dr. Oh Sunwoo worked late in her office, studying the cultural data the aliens had provided during their initial contact. As a xenoanthropologist, she found the Draknari fascinating for all the wrong reasons. "They're so predictable," she muttered, reviewing their historical records. "Conquer, dominate, extract resources, repeat. It's the exact same pattern we see in 90% of galactic civilizations." Her colleague, historian Im Ga-young, looked up from her research. "That's what makes it interesting. Why do almost all alien species follow the same development path?" "Because it seems logical," replied philosopher Ryu Ji-hoon, joining their discussion. "When you discover other intelligent species, your first thought is either they might threaten us or we can use them. Very few species think they might become our friends." Translator Shin Aryam had been working with the Draknari language systems for days, trying to build better communication bridges. "The problem is deeper than that," she said. "Their language doesn't even have words for concepts like voluntary cooperation or mutual benefit. Everything is described in terms of dominance and submission." Dr. Oh Sunwoo pulled up the galactic map on her screen. "Look at this. The Draknari Empire controls about 400 star systems, but they've been expanding for 1,000 years. That's less than half a system per year. That's incredibly slow," Im Ga-young observed. "At that rate, they'd need millions of years to control just one galaxy spiral arm." "Exactly. And you know why they're so slow? Because conquest is inefficient. Every time they conquer a planet, they have to maintain military control, suppress rebellions, and extract resources by force. It takes massive amounts of energy and resources just to hold what they've taken." Ryu Ji-hoon nodded thoughtfully. "Meanwhile, human civilization expanded from 1 planet to 12 spiral arms in less than 400 years. Not through conquest, but through invitation and cooperation. The real breakthrough came when Shin Aryam successfully translated some deeper Draknari cultural documents. "Listen to this," she said, reading from her screen. "This is from their most ancient historical records. The weak exist only to serve the strong. Power is the only truth. Those who cannot conquer deserve to be conquered." "How depressing," Im Ga-young said. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that the universe is a competition where someone has to lose. But here's the interesting part, Dr. Osunwu continued. Every species that follows this pattern gets stuck at roughly the same technological level. They spend so much energy on conquest and control that they have very little left for research and development. It's a development trap, Ryu Ji-hoon realized. They think conquering others will make them stronger, but it actually makes them weaker in the long run. On the Draknari flagship, Admiral Vexitar was having his own crisis of understanding. He had requested detailed scans of human technology, expecting to find some weakness he could exploit. Instead, the reports only made things worse. Sub-Commander Krikstal, he said wearily, explain to me again how humans travel between star systems. They use something called quantum tunneling drives, Krikstal replied, reading from his analysis pad. Instead of moving through space, they somehow move space around them. A journey that would take our ships 50 years takes them about 3 days. And their weapons? They don't seem to have any traditional weapons, Admiral. Their defensive systems can absorb and redirect energy attacks. Their ships can exist in multiple locations at once. And they mentioned something called reality manipulation fields that our computers cannot even analyze. Vexitar rubbed his head, feeling a massive headache coming on. How is this possible? How did one species advance so far ahead of everyone else? The answer came from an unexpected source. Engineer Thakmor, who had been quietly studying human communication broadcasts, spoke up nervously. Admiral, I think I understand. Explain. I've been listening to their public information networks. The humans don't hide their technology from each other. Everything they discover gets shared immediately across their entire civilization. When one group invents something new, every other group can build on that invention right away. That makes no sense, Krikstal protested. If you give away your technology, your enemies can use it against you. But Admiral, Thakmor continued, the humans don't seem to have enemies among their own species anymore. They stopped fighting each other centuries ago. All their energy goes into research, exploration, and helping each other advance. Vexitar tried to imagine a civilization where different groups actually helped each other instead of competing. It was like trying to imagine water flowing upward. There's more, Thakmor said. I've been analyzing their industrial capacity. A single human planet produces more advanced technology than our entire empire, not because they have better resources, but because they have billions of minds working together on the same problems. Billions, Vexitar whispered. Yes, Admiral. And they're not just human minds. They've been contacted by 67 other species over the past 2 centuries. Instead of conquering those species, they invited them to join their civilization. Now they have alien scientists, engineers, and philosophers all working together to solve problems. The truth hit Admiral Vexitar like a cold space wind. The Draknari Empire, which ruled 1,000 worlds through force, was actually much smaller and weaker than the human civilization, which ruled no one but included everyone. Admiral, Communications Officer Velnash interrupted. We're receiving another message from the humans. What do they want now? Vexitar asked tiredly. They're inviting us to visit their homeworld. They want to show us their universities and research centers. They say we might find their history interesting. Vexitar stared at the message for a long time. The humans were offering to share their most precious secrets with the very people who had come to conquer them. It was the most generous and terrifying offer he had ever received. Admiral, Krikstal said quietly. What if they're right? What if we've been doing everything wrong for 1,000 years? Then, Vexitar replied slowly, we have a lot to learn. For the first time in Draknari history, a conquest fleet was about to become a student exchange program. 6 months later, the former Draknari conquest fleet had become something entirely different. Admiral Vexitar, who now called himself Alex at the suggestion of his human friends, stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital university, watching his former warships being converted into research vessels. Strange, isn't it? Said Cultural Ambassador John Minseo, joining him at the viewing window. 6 months ago, you came here to conquer us. Now your people are attending our universities and your ships are being upgraded with human technology. I still can't believe you're doing this for free, Alex replied, shaking his head. In Draknari culture, advanced technology is the most valuable treasure. You guard it, hoard it, use it to maintain power over others, but humans just give it away. Knowledge isn't treasure, Minseo explained patiently. It's more like fire. When you share fire with someone, you don't have less fire. You just have more people who can light the way. In the university's engineering lab, Ko Dong-hyun was teaching a class of mixed human and Draknari students. The aliens still struggled with human concepts, but they were learning quickly. Remember, he told his students, the goal isn't to build the most powerful weapon or the fastest ship. The goal is to solve problems that help everyone live better lives. A young Draknari named Zixtal raised her hand. But Teacher Ko, how do you maintain control if you give everyone the same technology? That's the point, replied human student Park Ji-hyun. We don't want to control anyone. We want everyone to be able to contribute and create new things. But what if they use your technology against you? Zixtal asked, still confused. Ko Dong-hyun smiled. Then we'll learn from whatever they create and make something even better. Competition through cooperation, not conquest. The transformation wasn't limited to technology. Former Draknari military commander Karnexus was learning to be a diplomat, working with Seo Jeon to plan peaceful first contact missions with other aggressive species. The key, Seo Jeon explained as they reviewed star maps, is to approach them before they develop conquest mentality. Once a species starts believing that strength comes from dominating others, it's much harder to change their thinking. Like us, Karnexus said sadly. We wasted 1,000 years conquering instead of learning. You weren't wasting time, Seo Jeon corrected gently. You were learning important lessons about what doesn't work. Now you can teach other species to avoid the same mistakes. The most dramatic changes were happening throughout the former Draknari Empire. Individual planets were choosing to leave the old imperial system and join humanity's loose confederation of independent worlds. The process was completely voluntary, which confused many alien species who expected forced conversion. Educator Baek Sang-hoon had established exchange programs between human and former Draknari worlds. His classroom on the planet Vexitari Prime was filled with students from 6 different species, all working together on their final project. Tell me about your graduation assignment, he said to the mixed group. Student leader Mira Kim, a human from Earth's Luna colony, spoke first. We're planning a peaceful first contact mission with the Xenorian hegemony. They're a militaristic species about 300 light-years from here. Her Draknari classmate Yextal added, the Xenorians have been expanding through conquest for about 200 years. They're following the same pattern the Draknari Empire used to follow. And our goal, prompted Teacher Bayek. To show them that cooperation produces better results than conquest, said Kira, a student from the recently contacted Melvoni species. We want to invite them to join the galactic community instead of trying to conquer it. How will you approach them? Beck asked. Carefully, laughed human student Jo Sungmin. We'll start by demonstrating our technology, just like we did with the Draknari. Once they realize their weapons can't hurt us, they'll be more willing to listen. But the most important part, added Yextal, is to show them examples of former conquest species who chose cooperation instead. When they see how much the Draknari have advanced in just 6 months, they might be willing to try a different path. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim Ji-won reviewed reports from across human space. The transformation of the Draknari Empire was happening faster than anyone had expected. Entire sectors were abandoning the conquest model and embracing cooperation. Admiral, reported Communications Officer Lee Sora, we're receiving requests from 47 different species who want to join our confederation. Apparently, word is spreading about what happened with the Draknari. Any problems? Ji-won asked. Actually, the opposite. The former Draknari worlds are becoming some of our most productive research centers. When you take a warrior species and give them peaceful goals to fight for, they throw themselves into the work with incredible energy. What about the Draknari who don't want to change? About 30% of their military chose to remain independent, Sora replied. But they're not causing trouble. They've formed their own small confederation, based on voluntary association instead of conquest. Even they admitted the old system didn't work very well. That evening, Alex stood in his new office at the Earth Draknari Cultural Exchange Center, writing his final report as a former admiral of a conquest fleet. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was using human writing technology to compose a document that would be shared freely across dozens of star systems, helping other species avoid the mistakes his people had made. His assistant, human graduate student Min Yura, brought him coffee and sat down to review the report. How does it feel? She asked. Writing the end of the Draknari Empire? Strangely good, Alex replied. We spent 1,000 years building something that made everyone miserable, including us. Now we're helping to build something that makes everyone happier and more prosperous. And more advanced, Minura added. The technology sharing program has accelerated innovation across all our member species. We're solving problems in months that used to take decades. Alex smiled, remembering the fear and confusion he had felt just 6 months ago, when his mighty war fleet had been gently embarrassed by a human mining station. That day he had thought his civilization was ending. Instead, it was just beginning. Outside his office window, ships from dozens of different species moved peacefully through Earth's orbital traffic patterns. Former enemies worked together on research projects. Ancient warrior cultures learned to channel their strength into exploration and discovery instead of conquest. The galaxy was finally growing up, one species at a time, and it had all started because humanity had responded to a threat not with violence, but with laughter and an invitation to do better. The Draknari Empire was gone, but something infinitely better had taken its place. A community of civilizations working together to build a future where everyone could thrive. The conquest of humanity had become the liberation of the galaxy.